Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. We are back here exactly where we need to be. We're on the corner of Fairwood Avenue and Griffith Street, and that only means one thing. It means Triple C Brewing. It's great to see you, Danny Brams.
Great to see you, Johnny. Great to be here at Triple C. Little taste of the old as we gaze into the new. You know, it's a day of looking at where we're at. We're taking stock today because we have a week and a half off. There's no games. It's an international break, and Charlotte FC stands poised at the precipice of greatness. And it's a situation where maybe we have to exercise a few old demons before we can move forward. Who knows? What do you think?
And that's why we came here, and that's why we are going to set the theme of the episode early. So that theme simply is the old and the new. And what does that mean, and how does that apply to Charlotte FC? Well, you're going to find out here in the next hour on the show, because we've got a ton to talk about. First and foremost, we've got to talk about the fact that there was a penalty call in the final moments of Charlotte FC's road match on Saturday night against Nashville.
Again, at the end of the year, you're going to be like, hey, I'm really mad about the stoppage time penalty call that gave Nashville a PK. And I'm going to be like, which one? You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck.
And the TFOS know. And speaking of the TFOS, we put out a call. We put a right. They used to call it 1-800-COLLECT.
Yeah, we used to call it the bat signal, but
right.
now
it's like 1-800-PAT.
Yeah.
If you're
1-800-CALLPAT. Call Pat, throw your TFOS questions out the line, and we will answer them. Like, I love the gift that you chose for that tweet, Johnny. It was beautiful because, you know, like I said, we've been all about, we threw out the bat signal to the TFOS. The bat signal is no longer the metaphor. The metaphor is call Pat, you get your questions in. I can't wait to answer a bunch of questions. We got some great ones, and it's been a while, I will admit, it has been a while since we have done a full-on TFOS question segment. You know, we try to always just answer the questions that we think are on your mind anyway, but we love the chance to get direct questions from y'all, and it's time to bring it back, and the old and the new. The old and the new, baby.
Jorge Torres, Bridget McCall, Ash Hamrick, DB's Hot Takes, Mike Mecklenburger, Spurts Guy, Len Cornecchia, Nothing Man, Chris Hardy, Matty C8. Everybody's coming in. Brandon Davis.
Some of the greatest
Max
TFOs of all time.
Dave Lively. They're all hanging out on the show tonight. So while you're listening to the show, just make sure that you know that they are all here in spirit on this evening in South End. We're out here on the corner, as I mentioned, Fairwood and Griffith.
So when we were planning this episode, we were like, okay, when do we want to do our next taping, blah, blah, blah. And John goes, Tuesday night, happy hour. The vibes will be immaculate. And you nailed it, Johnny. The vibes are immaculate right now. We're out on Triple C on the corner. People are walking. The beautiful people of Charlotte are walking by. People are driving by in their cool cars. We're listening to great music out here on the grass patio at Triple C. They're busting the old the jam band music, which I love. I've heard Fish. I've heard Grateful Dead. I've heard Widespread Panic. You know, we heard a slow blues version of an old Sneaker Pimp song from the 90s. So, like, things are going very well right now out here on this patio. That's all I can say.
And we've got a big announcement to make. There's going to be a special episode of the show recorded this Friday. We'll let you hang on to exactly what that...
What could it be?
That could be. I don't know.
Your only hint is that this is something we've been talking about for a long time. So, yeah.
Exactly. It's the international break, and it means that Charlotte FC is off at the weekend.
Yeah.
And it means that some people in and around the organization might have an hour to spend some time with us.
Throw an hour to the Charlotte Soccer Show and see what happens. You see your Q rating skyrocket if you're Scotty Arfield or various members of the Charlotte Independents. Here's my question, though, Johnny. Should we be in playoff position right now in this international break? I mean, we're at the international break on the verge of playoff position, but we kind of should already be there, shouldn't we?
Well, there's two things that quickly jump to my mind in that scenario, and that is the egregious free kick at home that somehow found the back of the net, and then the penalty on the road in the dying. You know when you've got a fire going and the embers.
Yeah.
And they're dying.
Right.
And it feels like this thing will never come back to life.
Right. All I got to do is pour water on this thing and it's over.
Somehow, some way, at Nashville, against one of MLS's golden boys to protect another MLS golden boy.
Right.
Charlotte FC gave up a penalty.
It's interesting when you frame it
in
that
extra
way.
time.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's the same weakness both times because even though it was a penalty kick from Mukhtar and you know, to be honest, the more I looked at it, like I was like nailed on this is not a penalty for about probably 36 hours or so after the match. And then finally I saw this one replay that I was like, man, Bernie really did hook his arm there. That it was a penalty. That sucks. But regardless of that, what I wanted to say is, even though it was a penalty kick that scored the goal that took our 2 points away and drew with us, it was a long ball into the box that set up the penalty. And it was Colleen, like you and I, John, we were watching the game at separate locations, but I think we both had similar reaction, which was Joe Willis, the Nashville keeper, sends a long ball in the 90 plus 8th minute of a 4-minute stoppage time. And both of us, I can only imagine telepathically, were like screaming, Kalina, come off your line, come get this ball. And he didn't do it, and that's what led. It shouldn't even, like, as bad as I thought originally about the Burn penalty call, it shouldn't have not even been a play because Kalina should have come off of his line to get it. And it's a similar situation with the kick against Orlando, the free kick that bounced into our net to steal 2 points away from us at home against Orlando in the rain. So it's like not being ready for long kicks into the box in the stoppage time is kind of the theme of these 4 points that we've dropped. And we would kill for these 4 points, but at the same time, I got a lot of positive takeaways from the form that we showed in those 3 games in 7 days. So where do you stand on it?
Well, some people are asking, is George Marks the answer in the net? Are these mistakes by Christian Kalina mistakes that you have to look at and ask yourself,
right,
is this a problem?
Well, it comes down to what, it's tough to make an analogy direct one-to-one from a sports team to a workplace, but like think about like in your workplace. Are you happy with the one guy who's like able to deliver amazing things you've never seen before, but then always makes the one big F up that screws you? Or would you rather just have slow, steady Eddie, the guy who you know is going to miss a few things and is probably going to make some average mistakes that anyone would make, but at the same time is never going to do anything insane? The analogy doesn't really work for me, but what I'm trying to say is Kalina has an element, and there's a reason he has his own chant. There's a reason we say da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Kalina, let's get fucked up. Shout out Rachel White. Like Kalina makes these saves. He made saves against Nashville that I didn't think most goalkeepers would make, and then he lets the dumb error in, and you're just like, mother effer.
The key phrase here is 4 words, command of the box.
Right.
Do you have it as a keeper? Do you not? We're going to get into that conversation. I don't want to, off the top of the show here, Danny.
Right, it's not a keeper discussion.
It's not a keeper discussion.
Here's the deal. It's not happening. Kalina's a veteran.
Thank you.
Laddie has an established history of preferring veterans.
That's the key.
George Marks isn't coming in, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not going to waste my time having this conversation.
Thank you,
Because Christian Kalina will be the number one keeper
100%. For the next 9 games.
For the remainder of the season.
Yeah, not even a question.
And that's how it will
But man, I wish he didn't F up just though, that big mistake. Just like, you got to be locked in for the whole, you got to play to the whistle.
I will give him one bit of grace, and I certainly will not in regards to the ball at home against Orlando. But on the road, there was some weird, awkward spin on that ball that landed into the box, and that's why Byrne had to make the adjustment, hook the arm, and take down the Nashville player for the penalty. At that moment, even if Kalina came out, his decision would have had to be made 10 seconds before.
He would have had to make a split-second decision, I agree. But when I saw Willis kick that ball, I immediately said,
yes,
keeper!
Yes.
I was at the, I don't know where you were watching, Johnny. I was blessed enough to be invited to a tremendous friend of the show, Michael Volak's place.
You were at a TFOS party?
I was at a TFOS dinner party. We were cooking up, he cooked up some ribs, and the funniest thing, he cooked up a delicious meal for us all, but the ribs were slightly overcooked, and Volak was pissed. He was fucking stewing in the corner the whole time. He was so mad at himself for, in his mind, screwing up the ribs. They were delicious, by the way. Like, that was a fucking awesome meal, but they weren't perfect. And he was, if you've grilled, when you consider yourself a grill master, nothing short of perfection. Right?
The meat has to be done exactly as you plan, and if it's not, You have to make sure that other people enjoy it, and even if they tell you that you enjoy it, you don't really believe it because it wasn't cooked to exactly the way
he
you
wasn't
thought it was.
And I was telling him. I was trying to say, Mike, this meat is slightly charred, but it's falling. It's like literally, it's coming off the bone, but not dripping off the bone. It's exactly what you want with ribs.
Right.
He nailed it for the most. He got like an 85%, and it was pretty. And I'll take that every fucking time. So.
Well, the good news is that after hearing that review, is that the only other option for Michael Volek is to host another ribs party.
Yes.
And to
try to do better,
to get it right the second time, because that's the point of cooking. That's the point of playing soccer, and that's the point of doing this podcast. Because every time we hang out here and do a show, we try to make it as good as possible for the TFOS.
And the whole point of bringing that up is that I screamed in the middle of Volak's living room, "Keeper!" as soon as that ball, because I'm just like, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, dude, I was like, when that ball was in the air, I was like, do not give up these points. And then we surrendered. And like, it was this sense of like fait accompli, where it's just like the ball's in the air and you're like, this is going to, before the ball even came down, I'm like, somehow this is going to be a penalty and we fucking lose the 2 points. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was. And you can buy into the conspiracy aspect of it. You can buy into the Messi mania. You can buy into the fact that Charlotte FC is in a playoff race with the MLS darlings, and what that means for the future of this club. We can have that debate, Danny.
There's literally nothing more important to MLS right now than the narrative of Messi winning a treble in his first half season in MLS. There's just nothing, and he's already got one. He's playing in the U.S. Open Cup final, and they really need to eliminate pesky Charlotte FC. Here's my whole thing for the fuel for the conspiracy theorists. I've said this on social media. Let me say it on a microphone. We are the most dangerous team to Inter Miami's playoff hopes because A, we play them twice, and B, we have a game in hand on everybody else. So everybody else, we're more dangerous because we have that game in hand, and also we have 2 head-to-head 6-pointers against Miami. So like, they can't have us be even with Miami. It can't be like we draw and hold our 9th position and Miami gets 10th. They don't. They want Miami to skip us with a draw, type of thing. So we'll see.
It's Charlotte FC versus Inter Miami, and don't get it twisted because that is the remainder of the season.
Right. The New York clubs are spiraling. They won't make the playoffs. They're both below us, and they're not going to pass us. We still need to beat. We need to win anyway, so it doesn't matter that DC and Chicago are ahead of us because we play them, and if we lose, it doesn't matter. So. It's
and where
you say Charlotte FC versus Miami. I say Charlotte FC versus MLS. I'm steering into the conspiracy theories, bro. I don't care. We're, the New York clubs may not get us, but the New York home office may. You know what I'm saying?
It's the Charlotte Soccer Show. You can hear us here on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Podbean,
on YouTube, if you're there as well. You can get every episode on YouTube. You can find us there, and. You can follow Danny at Danny Brams. You can follow me at John Hayes on Air. But follow the show. That's the best thing to do.
Right.
Don't worry about us because we're very, very close to 1,000 followers on X.
What a number.
And if we... today I was really realizing that we were 6 followers away from 1,000. And I thought to myself, who is going to be the 1,000th follower? And if you are the 1,000th follower, we got to do something for you. We got to buy you a beer. We got to do at least something for you. As I am drinking here, and I never got a chance to ask you, what you're drinking tonight.
So this is my 3rd beer of the night. I'm going to admit we had a few pre-show beers. I've changed up every order so far. So this is I had a Deborah IPA earlier.
Yeah.
I had
a new beer here at Triple C.
Brand new. I love anything new on the menu. So hey,
it was hazy.
Yeah,
it was
a really hazy IPA, high ABV as well. Then I grabbed a Golden Boy because I was like, hey, Triple C, there's still time. Even though our permanent home is at EPR and we branched out back to get some old school love at Triple C tonight, there's still time for Triple C to give us a hookup with a sponsorship on the Golden Boy Man of the Match. So I'm drinking Golden Boy. But then, now my 3rd beer here was a recommendation from you. This is a beer you drank earlier tonight. It was called a Neon Lime, which is sort of like a crisp lager with a hint of lime mixed into the brew. So it's like you already squeezed the lime, which is people say don't fruit the beer. I actually disagree with that. I think a nice squeeze of a lime or an orange can actually add a lot to a beer.
Me too.
And
citrus can add a lot to anything.
In Texas, it's very customary to squeeze a lime into your Dos Equis or even a Lone Star or things like that. So the Neon Lime reminds me of, if I can sing a song here, I know you're about to just tell your beer in a second. This has been a long digression, but one of my favorite Texas country songs is by Brooks and Dunn, Neon Moon. You know, I spend most every night underneath the light of a neon moon. So I think that's the inspiration for the Neon Lime name. It feels like a Texas beer. And all I can say is when you lose your one and only, there's always room for the lonely.
I've got a Neon Lime too, so you don't have to hear me
Cheers.
Do that as well. Because I couldn't top that anyway. But as we're here and we're about 15 minutes into the show, and this isn't the point of the show where people are committed to listening, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for sticking with us.
So
we have the best podcast listening audience in the freaking business.
We do. I wanted to give you a little behind-the-scenes access into the theme of the show, the old and the new.
Right.
And why we ended up here at Triple C this evening is because we tried to go to the new Sycamore Brewing.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up there at 4:45 on a Tuesday, looking to have a nice happy hour party, to bring a couple dogs, to enjoy myself, and to feel exactly what South End was and what it should be. And I was hit square in the face with a new reality. That things were what they are not today. And I would categorize Sycamore Brewing as one of the most influential brewers in Charlotte, North Carolina, and to see what is happening at their location and to feel like I couldn't even be there was personally a moment of imagination. The thought of where else do I want to be?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be here.
You've been smacked in the face with a harsh new reality that you don't want any part of, and you retreat to comfort and what pops in your mind.
Triple C. How can I get back in my car, and how can I go further south?
Yeah.
And how can I find a place that welcomes dogs inside, that brews some of the best beers, that attracts some of the most interesting people in Charlotte on a Tuesday afternoon. Mm-hmm. And that's Triple C.
The beautiful people. The beautiful people. For sure.
It's not Sycamore. And it was sad. It was sobering.
So when you think about a place that like established the whole like train trail culture and like the spirit of South, like the reason half these people moved into these apartment complexes that are on the train trail was to go to Sycamore on the reg, you know.
That's
and like
right.
It used to be this great like dirt open area like that you would go sit outside with a picnic table. Anything could happen. You might hop on the train and head uptown. Afterwards, you might hop on the train and head south.
You might eat dinner and have a food truck.
Right, exactly.
You know, a meal that is fantastic.
Victims of their own success, right? Like nothing cool lasts forever because it becomes too cool for its own good. I think that's true. Not always true, but it becomes true for a lot of things, a lot of phenomena. And I think what we've seen with Sycamore, so inside in the process, I was running late to our whole get together.
I wouldn't even allow you to be there.
And I was on my way to meet you at Sycamore. I got the text that said, "Hey, pivot."
Privet!
Jeremy, privet.
If you ever no. If you ever hear someone at the stadium yelling, "Privet!" it's because it's me. And it's because it's after a famous Friends episode where a couch is trying to be moved up the stairs. If you know, you know. But that's Andrew Privet's call. Mm-hmm. If we all yelled Privet together at the stadium at once,
every time he makes a good play, yeah,
it would be epic. He would be like, "Oh shit!" Like, let me get myself together and make another play. But anyway, the point of the old and the new is that Sycamore was once old, and it's now new. And Triple C is a brewery that's remained true to itself. So the question that I have to ask you, Danny, is how does Charlotte FC now almost 2 years. Let's call it 2 years into its existence, right? Because at this point, before the first season, we were already a year behind. So I think 2 years is a fair point of reference, and I think you could even go back to 3 years if you wanted to. But at this point, after success, because if you look at certain things in the MLS, attendance, interest, fanaticism, supporters groups, Charlotte FC has it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's booming compared to a lot of MLS towns.
We got a lot of supporters groups
in the country. The royal family. So after you think about that, how does Charlotte FC, Danny, stay true to itself during change?
I mean,
and it's a question we're going to ask a guest on Friday.
I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the old and the new, and it's just funny. Like, I wanted to somehow weave music into this episode. So I don't want to digress too much, but it's just fitting that we're on this old and new theme. And Triple C threw up legit my favorite Talking Head song that I have not heard in like years and years and years. It's called Up All Night. I don't know if you can hear it on the background of the mic, but Talking Head's Up All Night is just one of the absolute greatest songs of all time. I'm listening to it right now and I'm thinking, this is a song that like I used to listen to like every freaking day and every week. It used to be part of like my makeup. It was on every playlist, and I haven't heard it in years, and now I'm hearing it again. And I thought to myself, as I was contemplating that, and then you were talking about the old and new with Charlotte FC, I thought to myself, stay true to what works.
Yeah.
Play Karol Swiderski. Play Adilson Malanda. Play Brant Bronico. Don't ever take Bronico out of the lineup ever. Like, you go sign 2 other midfielders, put them on the fucking wing. Bronico stays in. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, stay true to your freaking self, man. Like, it's like...
Because the season is long.
Right.
And there's many chapters.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a book.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the chapters. And by the final chapter, you would have gone through change, but the main characters remain the same.
Well, and like... It's character arc, right? It's the chance to grow. So you need to grow change needs to be growth in a positive direction. Change can't be change for the sake of change.
No, it can't be. It can't be change for the sake of money.
Right, 100%.
And that's what I'm trying to say here tonight. Is that you can't change for the sake of money, because if you change for the sake of money, you're changing for no one.
Right.
You're only changing for yourself.
And it goes back to where we started this whole conversation, which we appreciate people following with us, because this is kind of like a nuanced, sort of abstract. Like, we're talking about Charlotte FC, we're talking about Charlotte as a city, and we're talking about life, to be honest. And it's what I would say is Sycamore was a victim of its own success and had to change for money. They had to build. The land became too valuable to just operate a little sleepy little backyard brewery that everybody loved. It had to be turned into a condo complex with a brewery in the basement. And like, you know, if you go there and have a good time, I'm not going to begrudge you, but like, it's very interesting to me that like you walked into that place today and couldn't handle it and said, I need to get back to like the roots of what I really love. And I think that is instructive.
Because if you ever go to a Charlotte FC match and you're somebody who's a day zero supporter, like many of you TFOS are, people that listen to this show, Danny, let's not sugarcoat it here. Right. It's like the people that listen to this show are people that have been interested and involved since day zero, and what that means is that they are the fabric of exactly what this club is. And if the club ever changes monetarily without actually discussing with the foundation of supporters what's best, then maybe things might not end up exactly how you hoped they would.
Right. And so that's why I do want to say that as much as we're sort of like trying to hold on to sort of a originalist spirit and sort of claim property rights on OG citizenship as
I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not a gatekeeper.
I won't be a gatekeeper. Not gatekeeper,
no.
But it just making a claim to like what matters to us. That's all. When we're talking about what matters to us, it's that original feeling that got us in this club. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
But what I will also say is change is inevitable. You can't like stop change. So you need to sort of like guide your growth, and like it's all about like which direction do you evolve in. Like you said, you can't change just for money. So here's something that is been on my mind as we're just talking about sort of like it's great that we've talked 20 minutes and we haven't even mentioned hardly even mentioned a player's name because we're just talking about the club. We're just talking about like what the club means.
We mentioned Patrick Ashman.
So, Sam Spencer, not only am I a podcaster for Charlotte FC, I'm an avid podcast listener. I listen to all the other casts. I like to know what people are talking about. I care about this club.
There's so much room in this space,
right.
And it was awesome to see David Gussler at the match.
We got to hang with Gus.
Got to tell him that the coffee and soccer in the morning,
one of the best things that has started
on
in
match
this
day, has been such a great listen.
Totally agree. And we were it was great to chant with fellow podcast host David Gussler as we were going. But I listen to all the shows, and so one I always enjoy is the CLTFC podcast, which is very interview focused. I was lucky enough to be on with Nick before. Recently, a couple episodes ago, he had Sam Spencer, who writes Soccer Sheet, works for Queen City Nerve, and Sam just got really into the weeds about what soccer and football means to communities and things like that. And he really inspired me with the way he was talking about how one of the big selling points for Charlotte FC since the launch has been the party, obviously. And it's come to the party, show up at the bank, you'll have the party.
Yeah,
we're a party
there's
at the bank.
A party, yeah.
So and that's great, and that's good, and that gets people excited and happy, especially in the hot summer months. Yeah, I love partying. The whole point of the show is I'm partying right fucking now. But what I loved what Sam said was what he loves about football is the way that he has seen it spread a sense of community and bring people together that wouldn't otherwise get together, cross all kinds of boundaries in terms of demographics and things like that, and he just wants to see Charlotte evolve in a more of don't throw the party away, but let's de-emphasize the party necessarily a little bit to emphasize the community and the fact that it's a Charlotte FC match is something that you can go in to build pride in your city and togetherness in your city, and you can meet new neighbors. And you know this, Johnny, because you have your regulars, where you sit, your season tickets, you have your regulars, and you probably look forward to going and seeing the same people from game to game.
Yes, absolutely, and the idea of community is part of the fabric of the show. Charlotte Soccer Show, John Hayes, Danny Brams. We're back here on the corner of Fairwood and Griffith Street.
TFOS questions, let's go.
It's time to do the TFOS question tonight. We said that we were going to
We got a lot of them. People answered the call.
Yes, yeah. It's not hard to answer the call when Patrick's calling you.
Right, exactly.
You see that caller ID and you say, oh, I got to answer this one.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And even if he leaves a voicemail, you don't even get pissed off that he didn't text you. So,
I love it.
If we can get into these questions right here, right now, it's pretty simple, Danny, because it's one of my favorite Charlotte FC / Charlotte Soccer Show / exercises in general, is to put you on the spot
and
ask you rapid fire TFOS questions. So let's start with our friend of the show, Jorge Turos. He tweets in, he says, do we struggle under pressure / end of game moments, or is there something else to this?
Yes. Our team gets kind of oh shit, we might be about to win. Better be careful. I'm trying to think what it's the. There's a phenomenon for this. There's a really good analogy for this where it's like golf. It's like golf where you start thinking about you make a couple nice pars, you make a birdie, you're looking good. You're on the 15th tee, and you think, "Oh man, I could turn to 60, 69. I might turn to 68 here."
That's exactly what this is
and we're on the 15th tee, and you start thinking about your final score,
and it's gone from there. Yeah, because you forgot to think about the drive on 15
exactly.
That needs to be placed exactly where you place it all round long, and I think that's exactly right, Jorge. Is that there's nothing more to this except for nervousness, and I've called that on the podcast 1,000 times.
100%.
Is that this team gets nervy in the last 10 minutes, and I promise you that it's not going to go away anytime soon. Just with experience, you can maybe get better within that 10 minutes. Ash Hamrick.
Legend.
Why do we keep playing Nathan Byrne?
Shout out to Ash. Love Ash. Ash Hamrick is a legend. He's always the one that wants us to do Twitter Spaces after every match. After every match, Ash is like, "Is there you guys doing fucking Spaces tonight or what?" And I respect that. We will get back to it at some point, I'm sure. To answer your question, I don't know, man. Bernie's kind of like the Kalina of defenders. He has his high-profile mistakes that cost us, but damn, he makes some plays that like save goals and like. Yeah. He's made some tremendous plays, and as much as I used to be a pure Byrne basher, I can't hate on Nathan Byrne anymore. I wish he would be a little better, but he's one of our guys that makes plays.
DB's Hot Takes chimes in. Danny Brackets, is this when we officially promote the new show?
Oh, we should, yeah. Danny Brackett's our boy. Liverpool at Liverpool LTFC with another friend of the show, Matt Gestlin, have a new podcast that if you're into European football, you should definitely be listening to. Full-time Report. Look for it on Apple. Look for it on Spotify. Quote unquote, wherever you get your podcasts. Podbean, whatever app you're using out there.
He asks us, Danny. He says, "How does this midfield influx shake out by the end of the season? Who is our core?" And I'll preface this by you just have to listen to Scotty Arfield on the Charlotte Soccer Show. He'll tell you.
Competition. I would like to see Scotty starting. It's tough for me to see Scott relegated to a super sub after we made such a great connection with him on the show. And yet he's scored 2 very significant goals as a sub. So what can you say? Sadly not winners. One of them was a winner. The other one wasn't. But the other one should have been. I don't know. I think the core is Arfield's in the core, whether he's starting or not. He's part of the core. He's embraced this being part of the Crown more than almost anyone has, way more than fucking Nuno Santos ever did. Instantly, I think Brecht is in the core if he's healthy. Just the technical ability and the way he changed games by just being someone who could link up with Carroll blew my mind in the 3 games in 7 days that we did last week. So I don't know if he's healthy, though. I think he's got a muscle pull. I would have to think he's back after the international break, but it could be more serious. But our core is like, our core is, for me, Kalina. People can disagree on that one. But then it's Malanda. It's Urinen. Love the Finn, what he was able to bring in his minutes so far.
Full debut.
For me, it's Lindsay. As much as I just praised Nathan Byrne last answer, I would still rather see Lindsay starting over him.
Yeah.
It's Westwood, the captain. Love the fact that I've had a few conversations with Ashley and I've never referred to him by his first name. I just call him Captain. Kind of like Captain America, kind of like Ant-Man. Yeah. Ant-Man and the Wasp. And like, when I'm like Ant-Man, like, yeah, we call him Cap. But other than that, Westwood's in the core, Bronny's in the core. I just said that last segment before it trailed off into nothingness. And Carroll's in the core, and really it's take your pick on the wing for me at this point. I mean, Brecht is in there as a winger to keep Bronico in the midfield core. Jones's core, we have a much better record with Jones than without. He's been poor the last 2 matches, but we didn't lose either of those matches. I don't know. He was great 3 matches ago. So.
With reference to the last-minute equalizers in FC, and I want to be very, very specific here, is that these questions are about Christian Kalina.
Who's this? This is from multiple people?
Yes, okay. Mike Mecklenburger and Bridget McCall. Should Kalina still be our keeper, and when is it time to talk about Marks replacing Kalina, and why is it now?
So, one of my favorite nights of any year is New Year's Eve, and that's when it's time to start talking about Marks replacing Kalina.
Season's going to be long gone. We're going to be enjoying the 2023 holiday season here in Charlotte. The season's going to be over, and it's going to be New Year's Eve. And sure, George Marks, if you want the job, maybe we'll talk about it.
George is a great guy, but Kalina's our goalkeeper.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. Chris Hardy. I love this question. One of my favorite questions of the bunch.
Great.
I think this might be the first question that we've ever had from Chris Hardy.
Thank you, Chris, for jumping in.
Is Arfield our game changer? Last few games have proved his presence makes the difference. It does.
I'll answer question with a question. Does he come in and change games?
Well, the answer is yes.
There you go.
Len Kornakia. Len, I still haven't met Len in person. I know you have.
He's a legend.
I'm jealous that I haven't done that. He asks, With the 3 signings this past transfer period, who now are our best starting 11? Danny Brams, rapid fire. Hit me from the back all the way to the forward position.
Kalina, Urinen, Privet, Malanda, Lindsay, Westwood, Bronico, Arfield, Vargas, Swiderski, Gaines. Deagra super sub. I start Arfield over Brecht personally. Maybe personal bias.
Matty C8 chimes in. It's a long question. Let's see if I can get through it all. After seeing Enzo play these last 2 games, who would you rather sub in for Carroll up front? It seems obvious to me that Patrick Agyemang is the best option for hold-up play, distribution, and winning headers. Copetti only seems to offer better defensive pressure. What am I missing?
You want to know who I want to sub in for Karol Swiderski? Fucking nobody. That's who.
Yeah, like
sorry.
Like go the full 90.
Yeah.
Like play 90.
Yeah, exactly. As far as my preferred striker to sub in to play alongside Carroll up top, give me the kid, man. Call Patrick. What? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to turn this into a petty bashing session. It's all about how much I love Patrick.
Yes.
I would rather have him.
Brandon Davis, shout out to Brandon, good friend of the show. He tweets in, should the core of the team remain intact? Does Enzo have a place on this team?
I'm going to honestly say depends on who you think the core of the team is. I just kind of outlined it based on the previous Len question. But if you think the core is Westwood, Arfield, Malanda, Lindsay, Bronico, then yes, that should remain intact. I think there's a very real scenario where we lose all 3 DPs, where we just re-roll. Let's re-roll. Sorry, hit the reset button on all 3 DPs.
Wait, hold on. Camille Yuziak still plays for this team?
I think he started last match, didn't he? Fuck. Yeah.
I didn't see him out there.
I don't know. I mean, Camille is activity masquerading as achievement every time. I mean, he's had some good stretches, but he needs to do better for sure. I know it's hard to come back from it. It's like 75% of Camille's time has been either injured or still trying to get back from injury. So it's kind of, and then the other 25% of the time when he was at the top of his game, he was great. So what do you do with that? I don't hate moving on from all 3 DPs, to be perfectly honest, if we get the right price.
Dave Lively tweets in, I know for a fact this is his first question.
Welcome to the show, Dave. You're part of the resistance now.
I love his Twitter handle. It might actually be my favorite of the group. It's at Be More Lively. He tweets in, he says, why doesn't Charlotte FC tarp over the upper deck when it's not open? Seems like it would make the fortress more menacing and would visually improve the experience.
We know the reason they didn't last year was because the local broadcast used the empty seats as a blue screen.
It was very progressive. It was very progressive really until they canceled all the local broadcasts.
Yeah. Apple TV hasn't shown the same interest, and so I'm going to say that's a very good question, and I will ask someone who might know very soon.
Again, the final question is, and this is what we're going to do for our final segment this evening, it is how many points does Charlotte FC pick up during the rest of September? The September schedule is out. We're going to go over it. We're going to discuss it. We're going to get you set for the final month of the season. Well, it's not the final month. October is there, but this month means absolutely everything. We're going to do that. We're going to debate it, and we're going to figure out exactly how many points that this club needs to make the playoffs or the play-in game. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I don't think it really matters. Back after this.
Final question, final answer, Johnny.
And here we are to ask that final question, and it's going to be something that I'm interested in because I told you before the show.
You loved this question. This stuck out to you from the very jump. As soon as we put out the Patrick Agee call and the TFOS answered, this was the one that you were like, yes.
Well, the reason why is because there's been so much discussion in the Charlotte FC fan base among the supporters about the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And how important the rest of the season is. And I agree that the rest of the season means everything.
How many points are we going to get the rest of the season?
Yeah, but let's take that sample size and let's shrink it a little bit.
Pull a Rick Moranis. Honey, I shrunk the games in hand.
Let's talk about the games that are like within our foreseeable future.
Right. Exactly. Well,
and Max at Shy Max.
I love Shy Max. Shy Max is one of our best TFOs for sure, and I say that about a lot of people, and I mean that about a lot of people.
He asks us, how many points does Charlotte pick up during the rest of September? And that means at home against DC United, at home against Philly, which is, by the way, the same thing we just experienced against Orlando and against Nashville, a Saturday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
A Saturday, Wednesday. That's how this squad is coming back, with the Saturday, Wednesday at home.
I hope it rains again on Wednesday night against Philly.
So DC, Philly at home, and then at Cincy and at New England. That is 12 points up for grab. How many points, Danny Brams, to get to the next round?
Need or get? Are we predicting? Are we predicting?
Need.
To get to the next round, I think we need 7. I think we need 7 from the stretch because DC has to be a win no matter what. Like there's no, not on, like it's not even about a number. It's that we need the 3 versus DC to jump them in the standings. It's not even a question. This is a 6-pointer. This is a playoff 6-pointer, no doubt. Our next match at home. So there's that. So we need those 3, and they need to be specifically against DC. Then we have 3 after that. 1 home, 2 away against 3 of the best teams in MLS, all in the East. Cincinnati in first place in the East last I checked. Philadelphia, the defending East champions. New England has the reigning MLS MVP on their squad. So there you go. Three little birds, as Bob Marley might sing. But you know what I'm here to tell you? Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing is gonna be all right. Dun, da, 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 da.
You know what I want you to think about, Danny? I want you to think about 3 little points right on your doorstep.
Singing sweet songs. I'm all about it, baby. Here's what I think, dude. Here's what I fucking think about this fucking team. And I'll fucking tell you in a goddamn private message. I'll tell it to the fucking rooftops on top of Mount Everest. It doesn't matter who we play anymore. We're a new team. This is a fucking team that controls games. The system is working.
And how are you going to mix the old with the new?
Exactly, dude. So here we've got, what have we got? What have we got? The old. The Bronicos, the Swiderskis, the Kalinas, the freaking stalwarts, the guys who lead us through the battles have been there before. But what do we also have? The new. We have the injection of talent. We have the system that is working. We have Jari Uurinen, the fullback, playing in midfield, like we used to bitch about Harrison Affel being up in midfield, but it's working now because it's Jari Uurinen. You know, we got the Finnish fucking disaster, Finnish sniper, if you will. I love Jari Uurinen. I think more and more people are going to fall in love with him as the season goes on. Like, what I love is the way that the team has bossed games. We tweeted out a graphic of the 3 most recent game momentum graphs, which show dominance by Charlotte FC. It's not just about the percentage of possession. It's about how you're using that and how you're about forcing the other team to react. And even if you're not necessarily getting shots on goal, you're creating action and chances and shots. And Charlotte's been better at that in the last 3 games than I have ever seen this club, ever. And it doesn't matter. The stats prove it, and our eye test proves it. You saw the tactical view against Orlando from the supporter section.
Really good.
We witnessed greatness against LAFC with the team really putting it together. It's these late moments. It's these 15th hole tee boxes that we referenced earlier in terms of like, oh, we might win this game. You can't think we might win this game in the 87th minute. You got to finish the performance. I think Carroll knows that. I hate to see him being subbed early because Latanzio's married to this whole like striker for striker thing. I wish that Jones or Bender could come out early and we could play Carroll and Enzo alongside each other for the last 30 minutes of a match. But it doesn't matter what I wish because Christian Latanzio knows way more about football than I've ever known, and it doesn't fucking matter. So let's fucking use the system that we've seen. Let's keep doing what we're doing. And there's, as much as I just cited, leading the East, won the East, has the MVP, blah, 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 3 little fucking birds. You know what? We'll pick all 3 of those fucking little birds off one by one. They're all beatable. New England has issues with injuries. Philadelphia has not really been the same since Leagues Cup. Cincinnati, you know, they lost a striker. They're not showing the same exact form that they had been showing. I think we beat DC. If we can beat DC to prove me right about how I feel about this team, we can show the same form against DC that we showed in the last week before the break, then I'm going to feel comfortable predicting 9 points. 3 out of 4 wins.
3 out of 4 wins for a team that has only lost 2 of its last, I think it is 12 matches.
I think it's 14.
14 matches.
Saw that on Reddit. Whatever that's worth.
Losing is not happening.
Yeah.
How do we turn the 10-draw season? Right now, Charlotte FC has 10 draws on the year. And I was shocked to see, Danny, the fact that MLS as a whole, when you look at the standings, you won't believe this kind of draw rate. It's actually fucking insane. When you think about this draw rate right now, you can look at Major League Soccer's standings and you can go into the East.
Let's check the table.
And you can say that these teams, DC United, how many draws?
6 draws for DC United.
Okay, which is good compared to the rest of the East.
Right, exactly. And we have, 10 you said? So, yeah, we have the same number of losses as everybody, but we have too many draws compared to... Remember last year...
Go through the draws. Tell me the draws from Charlotte FC, where they're at. That's what I want to know.
You wanted me to go through the matches, the fixture?
No, on the table.
Oh!
How many...
Like who leads the East in draws or whatever?
Yes.
All right. We are looking at Atlanta has 9, we have the 10, New York City has 12, and Toronto has 10, so we're tied for second most draws in the East.
We draw
with Toronto.
We draw our face off.
2 teams that are behind us in the standings have more draws than us or the same, and then Atlanta has 1 fewer than us. Chicago 8.
Everybody keeps talking about the difference between Charlotte FC giving up leads or having a lead or being behind by a goal and winning. I don't want to hear that bullshit. That draw number is way too high.
I know, and it was way too low last year is the issue, right? But the other thing, is table watching. I love a little table watching at this point of a season. You just start looking at this thing and you're like, hey, this jumps out, this jumps out. I see Charlotte has 7 wins. There's no one above us in the table that has fewer than 8. So it's like we need wins, exactly what you're saying. Everyone below us has fewer than 7 wins. We're not converting wins. We also have fewer losses than all 3 teams ahead of us by at least 2. We have 9, Chicago 11, DC 12, Montreal 14.
We don't lose, we draw.
Right, yeah. It's fun to dig into this stuff. And what I'm saying is, over this next 4-game stretch, if we show the form we've shown, I believe in 3 wins out of 4. I can't pick and choose every single game. One thing about me is I've learned in 20 years of covering sports and working as a professionally and being a fan my entire life, I feel like I'm much stronger at commenting on what I just saw than predicting what I'm about to see. My predictions never seem to work out, so it is what it is. But yeah,
100%. And that's the truth is that you can predict anything to happen, but in sports,
if I could predict things, this would be a much more expensive beer. You know what I'm saying? Or we would have rented out the barrel room for this episode and had a DJ. Maybe DJ Fannie Mae.
I think that there was, and for what it's worth, DJ Fannie Mae is somebody that I've wanted to have on this show for a long time.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Should we book
she's
DJ
a legend.
Fannie Mae?
We got a little bit of a backlog, but she's on the list for sure.
So we're going to talk to DJ Fannie Mae for sure in the near future, maybe this offseason. And in the very short term, we're going to talk to Joe LeBleu, the Charlotte FC president. We're going to talk to him this week. We're going to bring you that conversation, and it's going to be exclusively right here on the Charlotte Soccer Show.
Cannot wait to talk to Joe later this week, and it's going to be amazing. Feel so like they say don't tease things until they actually happen, but I feel so confident in this because we have been able to foster a bit of a relationship over the last year and a half that I can't wait to finally get him on mic to share some of the things that we've been able to talk with him about in private that have really illuminated so many of the aspects of this club that really make you understand how much love is behind trying to launch this thing and make this thing a sustainable fan experience in the city of Charlotte. It's such a great city. I meet people that are new to Charlotte every day. I met some people this weekend. I was watching some football games at a bar. Met some folks that were finishing up their second year living in Charlotte. I've been here 10 years. And I said to them, this city grows on you. The longer you're here, the more you like it. It's so beautiful, and to know that that's a spirit that is living inside of the offices at this football club that we all cheer for gives me so much confidence for the future. It makes me feel like my fandom is rewarded. So that's gonna be a great conversation.
It's the Charlotte Soccer Show. I'm John Hayes. He is Danny Brams. You can follow us on Twitter at For the Crown Baby. If you've made it this far in the show, you know a couple different things. Number one, that we're talking to Joe later this week. And number two, you know that you are a tremendous friend of the show, and we will answer your question at any time at For the Crown Baby on Twitter.
How many points you got out of the next 12 available? I threw out 9. Give me a number.
I start with 6 because I think that the first 2 home matches you want 6, and I'll take 4 if I have to.
For what it's worth, 6 is acceptable. I'm not going to ride the roller coaster anymore. I'm laser focused on the mission, and I want 9, but 6 is acceptable.
And the reason why
it all's going to come down to the 2 6-point matches against Inter Messi, and he's not going to play one of them, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, the reason why I'm thinking 6 points is because I think 6 points out of the next 2 matches at home,
sure,
against DC and Philly would be real nice. Which, by the way, shout out on the show, my parents will be at the Philly match with us at the Keep on a Wednesday midweek match night in Uptown Charlotte.
Even if it rains?
Even if it rains.
Man, the rain against Orlando was so fun. The losing the 2 points late against Orlando on that free kick that was what, as great of a time as it still was, talk about spoiling what could have been one of the most famous nights ever, because the rain was glorious.
Get in touch with us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you listen. It helps get the word out about the show. We want as many TFOS in Charlotte as possible. Not because we want to make this show as big as possible, because we want to spread the word of the Charlotte Soccer Show. We want to make sure people
the good news
can go to a match, get into it, and know that there's a couple episodes during the week that they can listen to other people talk about it in a way that they enjoyed as well. And that's what we're here for. We'll continue to be here for you. TFOS on the Charlotte Soccer Show. And until next time.
For the crown, baby.